Welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
All right. Well, that's a technology clickety-click that didn't happen accurately, but we did it. It's Mercury retrograde. We made it.
Is it ever?
I am Hollis. I'm one of your astrologers here today. I hope you all are doing okay. And thanks for being here, Bright Hawk.
Always a pleasure. It's a big week in astrology. The end of the month of March. Lots of people have been looking at this for a long time. So when we have the new moon in Aries, which we have this week, it's sort of like our astrological new year. So happy new year, everyone. When the new moon begins in Aries, it's a great opportunity to set intentions about what you really are going for in your life. And of course, this is a solar eclipse week. So it's a big one. We talk about lunar eclipses often as the ending because it involves the south node, and the north node, in Aries, the eclipse, that's like the ultimate beginning of new energy. Like, all right, starting over, starting fresh. How do you want to go? So it's pretty big. It's pretty big. And of course, we still have Mars and Venus in retrograde, really tight with the sun. And I think the sun is really tightly conjunct Mercury. The Mercury and the sun are conjunct today. So,
which I think we've felt this before, but this time it's retrograde.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of makes it worse or something. Like it makes it more intense.
It definitely has a lot of intensity. It doesn't feel, I'm sure everybody can tell us a little bit about something that's gone on for you this Mercury retrograde where you're like, that wasn't the way that was supposed to go.
Right.
You're cooking along and then something just goes sideways completely. And you're like, okay, adjust, respond, try not to react, take a deep breath, usually helps a lot.
Right, exactly. And I think it's like, sorry. I think it's like, I feel actually like that Mercury, is usually communication. And I feel like it's a little bit harder to grasp the communication today. It's been a little bit harder for me to speak in the ways that I've recently tried to learn how to speak. Like I'm trying to speak to my grandchild a little differently. That's a little bit more modern, based on modern psychology and things like that. And like those words, just like I'm thinking them, but they're not coming out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of transmission, feeling like the transmission isn't exactly happening the way you want.
Yeah. And it's such a weird experience, and I think that so anyone that's got Virgo placements or if you have a strong Aries placement, right now the sun and Mercury are on top of each other today, so if it feels like communication is a little challenged
in a fire sign, let's be clear, in a fire sign, be careful with your words because they could burn, is what I kind of always feel.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, because it's like Mercury retrograde.
Mercury retrograde with Cassimi the sun, it just feels like combustion, and things like that have that energy feel like they can get away from you faster than you can realize. And you're trying to, oops. And so it's that careful what you say. Certain things can't be taken back.
Right.
Is it really worth it? It's a really important question. Yeah. So things like that are definitely kind of up in your face, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Mercury rules not only Virgo, but it also rules Gemini. So anyone that has those signs, Virgo and Gemini, whether you have it in one of the 3 power points, sun, moon, or rising, you're gonna feel it for sure. Because Mercury is, everybody's feeling it right now. Everybody is feeling that Mercury and Venus retrograde.
Yeah, Alyssa's pretty much described Mercury retrograde to a T there. I've had a lot of stumbling and stuttering over words, having the word in my brain but can't spit them out, skipping words, technology glitches, and truck problems. It's been eventful. That's pretty much Mercury retrograde.
In a nutshell.
That is all
Thank
Mercury
you,
retrograde.
Alyssa, for validating all of our experiences.
Oh,
Man.
That's
Oh,
pretty
my
much
God.
it in a nutshell there. So, that's Mercury retrograde. So if you're experiencing any of that, recognize that it will soon be over. It won't be like this forever. It is about to change.
Right.
So, we can get through this. And I want to invite you to take a little bit of a deep breath and take a minute to center.
Really important week to do your practice, whatever your practice might be for you. Try to make sure you're doing it. This kind of energy can make you feel like, but I don't want to. I just want a day off. And while everyone deserves a day off from time to time, this is a really important time to take those deep breaths, take that time to meditate or exercise, or make sure you're eating well and sleeping well.
All right. So take this moment. Take in some deep breaths. Blow out all that tension. Just let it run out of your body. Take a nice deep breath in, and then let it go very, very slowly. And take this minute to experience and experiment with how slow you can let it go now. Try taking another deep breath. And just let it out nice and slow. As slow as possible. And I invite you to imagine your feet on the ground, on cool, damp grass beneath your feet. It's warm enough of a spring day with the sun shining down on you. You can feel the sun shining on your skin. You can feel yourself connected to the earth. And you can feel yourself being warmed by the sun, comforted and inspired. And And then in this moment, the eclipse begins. And slowly, the moon moves across the sun in a way that blocks the light. For just a moment. And for that moment, you feel a little chill, a little nervous, a little anxious. And you realize that it is the eclipse. It is the moment the moon is moving over your sun. Bringing forth change, transformation, and action. Changing the way you stand, changing the way you are. And as the moon moves past and starts to come off of the sun, you feel more inspired than you were before, warmer than you were before. And because of its absence, you recognize the power of the sun. You recognize the power you missed for those few moments. You recognize the warmth, the inspiration, and the cord that is pulling you forward onto your path. And you grab that cord and step directly onto your path, feeling inspired, centered, grounded, and aware and awake. And now you feel your feet here in the here and now, with your bottom on the seat. You roll your shoulders, wiggle your toes and your fingers, and open your eyes. And come back to the here and now. Well done, Bright Hawk. Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for blessing us with a little music and a little bit of a meditation. I think that just helps us hopefully ground and center. At least it helps me.
Helps me center. It helps me ground and center almost every time. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel off today. My grandson was off. Everything's a little bit off today. It's a little bit strange. Welcome, Gwendolyn. An Aries, huh? An Aries in Scotland. Okay. You have a Sagittarius rising and a Gemini moon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you'll feel, from an emotions perspective, you'll feel that Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, but also because they have Aries.
Oh yeah.
So
boy, and Aries, boy, you guys are
buckle
in your house.
What I would say is buckle in for this year. For Aries, anyone in Aries, lots of big planets are going to be moving into Aries, and that gets us into what we're going to be talking about today. And let me just say, there's a lot going on. I mean, it's a lot, you guys. So
when astrologers talk in big terms about significant events and things that have people look at on the horizon and what's going to be important, the end of March 2025, they have been talking about for years. Because this is one of the weeks where everybody is going to feel it, because we have Friday, Venus moves. We're gonna go through each day of the week.
Yeah,
just so you know.
I'm gonna get it
and
open.
Don't worry. At the very end, Hollis will go through the astrology for the 12 zodiacs, so you can hear for your sun, moon, and rising. And if what we're talking about sounds like gibberish, we're really trying to not have it sound like astrological gibberish. We really want it to be meaningful. So we're always trying to break down the language of astrology, because it can be a lot, so that it's accessible. And if you want to learn more, you can always go to the link. Hollis will put it up in a minute. That has a little booklet on Hollis's website that explains the sun, moon, and rising, how to get a free astrology chart, and it'll help you understand just the very basics of how we begin this conversation and why those three in particular are the most important that we look at.
Yeah, because I feel like it's hard to if you don't know your sun, moon, and rising, especially your sun and your rising, especially your rising, your horoscope isn't going to be very accurate. So if you're like, well, I've listened to my horoscope before, Hollis, and it's not usually accurate. And I'm not surprised to hear that at all, because we start to grow out of our sun sign, which you're like, well, what's our sun sign? That's, whenever your birthday was, September the 8th, December the 12th, whatever it is, that's your, that's it right there.
And it's when we talk about your sun, we're talking about your forward facing expression to the universe, to the world, to your world. And so it tends to be what we lead with. It's how we express. It's like, this is the face we're putting out to the world. That's your sun sign. Then
the rising sign is like, it's who you become. It's who you later, it's who you grow into. It's who you are.
It tends to speak to your motivation, your internal environment, your deeper working, how you really get it done. We tend to grow into our rising sign as we age, and it becomes more and more important as we get older.
Yeah, especially because you grow more into it. I feel like your sun sign becomes more of like something people meet, like your neighbor knows, but people that really know you, and of course yourself, that's not really who you are. It's not. It is partially, but it's only like this outside third of who you are.
The veneer.
Yeah.
And then your moon, so that's sun and rising, and then your moon is really your emotional world. And of course, we all know that we're all affected by the moon. Everyone talks about what happens with the full moon and the intensities, the opportunities to set your intentions during a new moon, which is what we have this week with the solar eclipse. And new moon, and of course the moon moves the fastest through the zodiac and changes signs about every 2.5 days. So we talk about that in the charts, and we'll go through that as well.
Yeah.
You ready to open the charts?
Yep.
Great. Oh, we have some more comments.
Yeah. So Beverly's in Aries and waiting. I don't know what she's waiting for. Pisces sun, Gemini moon. Okay. Yeah, so you're probably feeling it more emotionally, Alyssa. Probably the Mercury retrograde's probably been kind of rubbing you the wrong way emotionally.
And the Venus in Aries, yeah, the Venus retrograde. I'm sure you've been feeling that for sure.
Okay. All right. The B. I'm sorry that YouTube is a nice place to watch it. It does seem to be a little bit better. Facebook has had a lot of problems. Hi, Annie, and hi, Regina. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Good to have you with us today. And so, all right. So let me go ahead and present this.
Dive into the charts.
So this is this week. Of course, it starts today. And today, as we've mentioned, the Sun and Mercury are conjunct or on top of each other or cazimi. And essentially that just, I think the Sun pretty much magnifies anything that it's on. And since Mercury is retrograde, it's made it particularly harder, probably, maybe frustrating for some.
When you think about the Sun, you can think about it like a giant spotlight, right? So if you put a giant spotlight on a Mercury retrograde, especially this afternoon, if you felt like things were coming out backwards or just why can't I finish a thought or whatever, in addition to that, we also had a void moon from 3 to 3:30 Mountain Time a couple hours ago, basically. So that's also in the vibes.
I know I lost that period of time.
You literally did.
Yeah, I literally did. I have no idea what happened during that period of time.
And so so if you're joining us for the first time and you've never heard this term, what's a void of course moon? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the moon moves signs every 2.5 days. And the difference between Pisces and Aries is dramatic, right? One's a water sign and mutable. The other one's fire and it's cardinal. These are very different energies. So every time the moon changes signs, there's this moment that happens, and it's called the void. And it's right in between as it changes signs. The void meaning in between. And so technically, from an astrological perspective, it's also said that that's the time when there is no more Ptolemaic aspects. We'll talk about the Ptolemaic aspects there, the trine, the square, the sextile, conjunction, and opposition. That's it, the five things. We'll explain it as we go. So basically we have the moon moving into Aquarius, which means it's moving out of Capricorn. So of course we're going from earth to air, and it's conjunct Pluto. And so that's kind of intense as well. Pluto, of course, rules the underworld. Pluto has entered, I guess it entered Aquarius January.
It went back and forth. It went back and forth over like 2022, 23. Yeah. And then in 2024, at the end of 24, it moved into there.
Yeah.
Like permanently.
So
for the next 20 years.
Among the things that all astrologers have been talking about is how many planets, big planets, are moving signs this year. Especially something like Pluto, which will sit in one sign for 20 years. So we started off the year with Pluto moving into Aquarius. Now this week, we're going to have Neptune, which has been sitting, I think it's 12 years, is Neptune's? Years. For years and years and years, Neptune has been sitting in Pisces. Yeah. And now at the end of this week, Neptune moves into Aries, which is a very, very big deal.
Well, yeah, because Neptune is we'll talk about that towards the end.
Try not to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Okay, so let's start with that Sun and Mercury conjunction today. You'll probably feel the end. You're not going to feel the way you feel today, tomorrow. You're not going to feel this way. It'll feel more released, especially because Mercury is still moving backwards. The Mercury and the Sun are kind of, they're kind of moving away from each other now after today. So I don't think that you'll feel it beyond that. But there will be some other stuff that goes on this week. The good news is that Mars and Chiron are still in a square, And while squares are difficult, they are also lead us to good change. So if you're feeling like you have to take action to make your life better, that's that Mars square Chiron. You're meant to heal. So take your steps towards healing. That's been going on for a little while and has intensified, but is perfected today and tomorrow and probably maybe, and that's about it for the last 2 days. Yeah. So today and tomorrow, and it's perfected. So that's really like, what are the actions that you're taking? Because those are going to bring healing to not only you, but probably the world in some way. And some people think, well, how is, me losing 10 pounds helpful for the world? Well, you're actually what I always teach. And I actually was just talking about this at our event on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day. Yeah, Saturday night at Astara, which is that you are more powerful than you think you are. And when you heal yourself, you heal others, because the impact that you have on them, even if it's small, it seems small in your world, it actually ripples out. Because let's just say you affect the 3 people you're closest to, and then they go to work and they have a slightly better day because you haven't lost your temper as much. And then the next thing you know, and then maybe one of them is your kid, and they learn how to regulate, or they learn that they can change and they can choose to be a different person. Then wham, look how you've influenced the world. Never minimize the choices that you're making for healing. They're actually more powerful than you think. So I think there could be some power going on there, especially like yesterday, today, and tomorrow, these 3 days. I think that that's important.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday, I would say the big headline is that this is the last day that Venus is in Aries. Wait, no.
That might be helpful.
Venus moves there. Okay, Venus moves on Thursday. So Wednesday, the headline I would say is that we have a void of course moon
pretty much all day, huh?
So mountain time, adjust for your time, but from basically 10 o'clock in the morning until 7:30 at night is a void moon. So
good day for nurses to work.
Good day for nurses. Yeah. What it means is that there's not a lot of energy. The moon is void. It does not have energy. It's already shedding as it gets towards the new moon. And now, and this is one of the few times where I took the snapshot of the chart, and literally you can see there are no lunar aspects.
No lines to the moon.
That's
see how
right.
There's no lines to the moon? That means, it's void.
Right. And the moon is in Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And Neptune, as we know, is on its last seconds of being in its rulership. And of course, it's been hanging out with the North Node and Saturn. So that's really intensified structure, illusions around structure, because Neptune is all about illusions and, perception. Are you perceiving things correctly?
And so what kind of conflicts have you been having in your relationships? What kind of conflicts have you even been having with money, maybe, or resources of any kind of conflicts you've been having over these last couple of weeks? As Venus moves out of Aries into Pisces, I think you're literally going to feel like, look, I don't want this to stay as a conflict. I don't want to stay in conflict. So if you're in conflict with somebody, they might say they're sorry in the next, later in the week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on their signs. There might be also like, I don't want this to continue this way, or I feel this about money, or there's going to be a movement towards the solution, because Venus is not very comfortable in Aries, and it's been retrograde there for the last couple of weeks, which has left us uncomfortable and having some conflicts in our relationships. And as it moves into Pisces, where it's exalted, which means it's right, Venus loves to be in Pisces.
Right.
It's its favorite place, even beyond being at home. It's like its favorite beach. Okay. And so for Venus in Pisces, it's like being at the beach. It's in love. It wants you to be there. It's unconditional love. It's that coming together of, we can do this type of thing. There might be some self-sacrifice in that movement, but it will probably also be a little bit of some peacekeeping or working towards peace or trying to find peace. So there could be a little bit of that going on in the later in the week after Wednesday, but Wednesday will be the last day that you want to have any more conflict. So you might even have a little bit of an argument or something that's been lingering on for the couple of weeks. But by the end of it, or by Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're at that point, you're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. So that's what the shift is going to happen.
Nice.
I think that's the shift that will happen. I feel that that's going to be the most powerful thing that you'll feel, other than Neptune.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Because here it is on Thursday, Venus makes that move into Pisces.
So then, yeah, go ahead.
And so, Venus, like Hollis just said, exalted, absolutely happy
It's
to
at the
be
beach.
back at the favorite beach, right? Oh, yay, gets to be back at my playground.
Yep. Yeah, but the thing about that movement is that it will be conjunct Neptune. Mm-hmm. So there could be some delusions or illusions about things. You could have thought they apologized, or you could be dismissing red flags. You could be some sort of illusion or delusion is going on in relation to this, because as Neptune, who is in its ruler, it's very much at home in Pisces. Neptune is used to seeing the world through water, which, if you think about it, when you look through water, if you've ever wore goggles while you're swimming, it's not very clear. I mean, you could kind of see, but sometimes things aren't exactly as they appear in the water, right? So I don't know if you've ever played that game, but that's pretty much what Neptune is. Even when it's direct in Pisces, it sort of sees things through water. It also sees things through an emotional lens. It sees things through a self-sacrificing lens. And while sometimes it can also see it through like toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, all of those kinds of things are Neptune and Pisces. Okay, whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. And it's not about judgment of it if it's good or bad. That's for Virgo, which is opposite of Pisces. It's not about good or bad. It just is, and that's Neptune and Pisces. And what's about to happen is this: as Neptune moves out. It moves out on Sunday, eh? Yeah, Sunday. Okay. So Sunday, I feel like it's going to be very, very intense. So while you try to sort through whatever those illusions are in the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, by the time we get to Sunday, that illusion will be shattered. Okay, so just know that you could be under an illusion this week. Even if you found peace, someone could be lying. You may not have heard it right. You may not have understood it correctly. You may have misunderstood. You might be dismissing red flags. All of these things are Neptune and Pisces. Okay, or that person might be sacrificing. They're not really telling you how they truly feel or what they really think. And that's very common. And that's very Neptune in Pisces. And I feel like when Neptune moves into Aries on Sunday, it's going to create this like literally, I feel like your illusions are going to be shattered.
Yeah, it'll be a reboot, because let's talk about Saturday and the solar eclipse.
Okay.
So Saturday morning, at least for us in Colorado, it's the crack of dawn, literally. The eclipse happens right at dawn for us. It might be a little later for you, depending on where you are. But after the eclipse, that's what we're talking about. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. It's a new moon. It's a new opportunity. So if you want to set intentions, this is a good time to do it. And new moon in Aries, dream big, right? So the other thing that happens on Sunday is we have a void moon again, almost all day long, 11-hour void moon. So the other thing that we talk about during a void moon, when the moon does not have a lot of energy, it's not a great time to initiate or launch something or try to, do something that takes a lot of energy. And if you do, I'd be curious to see how that goes and what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens during a void moon is it's a really good time to take it easy. Do your self-care. Take time to meditate, or just take the day off, or go and be in nature, or what have you. We learned from one of our astrologers, Celeste. She was saying that you can use a void moon if you need to have a situation that seems to be always too dramatic and you don't want it to be dramatic at all. You have that conversation during a void moon. And I think that's brilliant. We've actually traveled during a void moon, and it was really chill. And we were literally picking up our bags as the void moon finished, and you could feel the energy in the airport start to just go. And, we
were happy to be leaving.
We were really happy to be leaving. So it's an interesting thing to become aware of. And there are times when why am I dragging my ass, or why don't I have any energy? And then later I'll learn, oh, that was a void moon day. And so this week we have 2 really short ones, 15 minutes, and 2 Wednesday and Sunday, all day long.
So Wednesday and Sunday are going to be low drama days, low energy days, good days to take care of yourself, good days to do some self-care. Take that extra time, take some extra time off, go do something. I think I'm going to plan a hike for Sunday or something. Hopefully we'll have good weather.
And then the other lovely thing that's happening that hopefully gives everybody a sense of relief is that there's a minor grand trine, and trines in astrology are blessings. They're the most favorable energy you can have. You're so blessed, you don't even know how blessed you are. So grand trines mean that each element is in the same, each zodiac is in the same element. They're all in water, they're all in air, they're all in fire, or earth. And in this case, a minor grand trine is a trine and 2 sextiles, which means they're not in the same modes. And this we've had for quite a while, but this now adds Uranus into the mix. So we've had Mars trining Saturn almost all month. And now they're sextiling Uranus and also Saturn and the North Node are there together. So that's what does that mean? Mars is all about action. Uranus is all about change. The North Node is about your destiny and your future. And Saturn is all about structure and your relationship with authority.
Yeah, but also like the structure of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally see people making changes that changes the entire structure of their life. Yes, that could mean your job. It could mean your work. It could mean where you live. It could mean anything else that has to do with your life path. And that's really what you want to be focused on. So, I've been seeing a lot of videos from people from spiritual, especially queer people, that are talking about, finding your joy and things like that. Like, what can you sustain during this time? Because things might be hard, yes, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you have to be sad and down and depressed or angry or frustrated. You can also find ways to be joyous even when things are hard. Okay.
And with Uranus there, it could be a surprise a minute. It's a very favorable aspect. So this is a good time to remind everybody of the little saying in my book, The Dancing Hippo. I'm willing to be delightfully surprised by how sweet this life can be. You get what you expect.
Right.
So with Uranus and the top of that grand trine, that means that it's likely to be something you didn't think of before. And I find it real interesting that it's that particular configuration the day after a solar eclipse.
Well,
because it's all about the solar eclipse happens, and it's all about an eclipse, right? It's eclipse of the heart. You don't see it. Something happened, and now you see something you didn't see before. And now you're like, oh, I know what I need to do. And that's going to happen on Sunday. And even if you don't know what you need to do, you tell your psyche the following. This is a really good one to practice, especially if you're feeling anxious and you really need answers. I will know, and it will be revealed. I will know, and it will be revealed. Because once your psyche hears that, oh yeah, you do know. Oh, was this what you were looking for? So that's the beauty of this, looking at these charts every day, seeing how it relates to you, seeing when the good stuff is, how to be open to the good stuff, let's say like that, and how to be mindful of, oh, these could be challenges. Let's be mindful. What's the best way to navigate this? So hopefully that helps. That's what the week looks like.
I think you kind of explained. Let me just finish. Sarah asked, what does a void moon mean? But also Chelsea asked, why are some void moons longer? So you could probably cover the answer to that question in one this week.
So the void moon is the moment. So the void moon is when the moon is changing signs, and it changes signs every 2.5 days. And so there's this moment of in between. And the other way we define the void moon is when it no longer has what we call Ptolemaic aspects. So that moment where it moves from Pisces into Aries, like, it takes a minute, So the void moons, Wednesday and Sunday, are really long. That's about the longest I've seen, is around 12 hours. Why does it last longer? And sometimes it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's just has to do with that window of, are there any aspects before it switches signs? And so there's calendars. You can find, Google void moon calendar, and you'll get one, and you can put in your location, and it'll give it to you in your time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really fun thing to know about.
Yeah, I would agree, especially if you're like a Cancer sun, Cancer rising. You have any strong Cancer placements, you're going to want to look at that. My husband, Chelsea said, my husband's a paramedic firefighter. It's his first day back on a 24-hour shift. I don't even know how people do that on Wednesday. I hope it probably will be a good, you know what, Chelsea?
It'll
probably be fairly uneventful.
I hope so. I hope that first 12 hours, especially during the void, is like, guys want to play cards, whatever they do in the firehouse when they're chilling.
All right, so let's address this question. With my Jupiter being in Aries also, and in a nodal return too, does that increase intensity to that as well? I would say yes. Jupiter being in Aries. So Jupiter has a lot to do with belief systems. It will also have a lot to do with it will depend on what house it's in, because it will kind of make that area of your life bigger. So like mine is in the 6th house of my day-to-day life and health is very important to me, and wellness and my day-to-day life. Like I've always been very focused on my daily habits and what habits do I have, and I'm always trying to shift my habits. And that's an example of Jupiter in the 6th house, and mine's also in Aries. So Alyssa, I would take a look at like what house it's in, because it's going to make that area of your life bigger. Jupiter tends to make anything it touches bigger. Okay. And what degree is it at? Because as soon as those planets move across it, you're probably going to feel it. Okay. So what degree is that Jupiter? Everything's coming in at 0 degrees Aries right now. Neptune will move on 0 degrees Aries. And then throughout the entire thing, it will take 14 years. I looked it up. 14 years. Okay. And then Alyssa asked,
Sure.
can we bring Friday back up? And the answer is yes. Let's see. So here's Friday. Hopefully you can get a good look at it. You know, it's Friday. I feel like it is like sort of the calm before the storm a little bit. Although Venus, I feel like it'd be our deep breath. It's a good day to take a deep breath, because then once we move through the weekend, especially into Sunday, I feel like that's going to be, Neptune in Aries. I don't think we'll feel it as much on Sunday, mostly because it's a void moon, but I think that we will be feeling it on Monday, Tuesday, and the week going forward.
Oh, and we should probably remind, because we have a lot of psychics, mediums, folks that do readings in this group. We've been sort of investigating what happens during a void moon during readings, and they fall a little flat. So if you have the choice to take Wednesday and Sunday off from readings, you might want to.
Yeah, if you can. And I wouldn't get a reading on Wednesday or Sunday.
Yeah, for those of you who like to get readings, pick a different day.
Yeah, I would pick a different day.
Better bang for your buck.
Bianca said, I finally found my husband's hospital birth certificate with the time Virgo Sun, Cancer Moon, and Scorpio Rising. Excited about exploring his chart more.
Cool.
Bianca, yeah, I'm a Scorpio Rising.
They're healers. Scorpio Rising, people who see, have great intuition. They're great seers, great readers of people. They can really assess situations very, very quickly.
So Alyssa, the Jupiter in the 10th house, that's going to be about your career. So Jupiter's going to make that bigger, or whatever you offer the world. And with 27 degrees, you probably won't notice it for a while, until those planets get there. And, you know, so the fastest planets that are going to get there is Mercury, and then Venus, and then eventually years later, Saturn. It'll take a couple of years, though, to get there. Okay. So you probably will feel it less because you don't have anything until those planets get, you know, within about a few degrees, like 25, 26, 27 degrees. You might feel the retrogrades a little bit, but you won't feel it as intensely. Okay.
Oh, sorry. That's Charlie.
Yeah.
Somebody's out front. So Sean Lynn's question, I would say, can you bring up Tuesday's chart? I would say yes, because we've had a long-term Mars trine Chiron. Mars square Chiron trine Saturn.
Whoa.
So it means, so what does that mean? Mars square Chiron means that it's a good time to take action around your health. And if you don't, life has a way of forcing you to. Squares are challenges, but they're also opportunities for movement. It's something's got to change. You got to do this or you got to do that. Squares ask us to take action. And that's what Mars is always going to ask. What are you going to do about it? How soon are we going to act?
Yeah, I think it will also depend on the
but what's the moon? The
horoscope.
Moon is the other one on Tuesday.
It will also begin on the horoscope.
Yeah, which we'll do in just a few minutes. That's Wednesday.
Okay, this is Tuesday.
And the moon is in Aquarius, trine Jupiter, good, square Uranus. sextile Chiron. Oh, well, you have the moon in a sextile to Chiron. That is the other thing that I think I was thinking about. So that's very positive. Sextiles are very blessed energy, and the moon in Aquarius is interested in healing. So, and you've got a trine to Jupiter, which is going to amplify healing. So that's good. So when we look at medical astrology, Hollis can speak more to this. We look at the moon, we look at Chiron.
It's also but it's also very like dependent, because it has to do with on your chart, because this is why medical astrology, you really have to get a reading, because it's in the 6th house, is your house of health, plus your rising, your ascendant. So if you're a Cancer rising, that Mars might have a little bit more to do with your health. Plus the 1st house is your vitality, and then the 8th house is death or fear of death. And then the sun is also your vitality, especially for you, Shauna, because I think you're a double Leo. And so then as a result, your sun is hugely a part of your astrology, of your health. But mostly for something like rheumatoid arthritis, which isn't necessarily like life challenge, like it's not like a heart condition. So then it's more of like a day-to-day thing. So something like rheumatoid arthritis, you're going to look in the 6th house, where something like a heart condition, you're going to look at the sun or the 8th house. Or you're going to look at the vitality, the rising. Okay. And so, or the 1st house, because that has to do with because it's life threatening. But rheumatoid arthritis is mostly just it's like your quality of life. It's your day-to-day life. So that's the 6th house. Okay. So that's kind of like where that comes from.
Thanks for asking. Good questions.
That's a great question. So Tuesday, calm at night. You mean like overnight, Regina?
Is Tuesday calm at night?
Not necessarily. Maybe it'd be okay. Because the void moon is Wednesday. So not really.
No, not really.
Not really. It'd be before the void moon. So the void moon is most of the day Wednesday from 10 a.m. until like 9 p.m. So so it'd be then. Okay. So just because it's not calm doesn't mean it means that, you just prepared, what are you prepared for? Are you, what are you, preparing yourself for? And what changes are you making for yourself this week? Because Spirit is definitely wanting you to change that part of you, change the part of you that needs to change. And with the solar eclipse this week, the solar eclipse is kind of saying, hello, you best do that, because we need you to change as soon as possible. And I think that's really what the universe is asking all of us to do in this solar eclipse. And I think that's usually what a solar eclipse is, it's kind of asking you to focus in on what needs to be changed, because if we don't change, then we'll just be stuck, right? So, you don't want it to be calm, Regina. You want to feel something, or you want it to just fall flat, okay? So if you're going on a date,
don't go on a date during a void moon.
No,
you're gonna be like, well, that was boring.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, he was kind of boring. Nothing happened. Like if you want a good date, like if you want to like think positive things, you don't want it to be a void moon. So just letting you know. Shauna is looking for a fresh start this week. Well, let's go through the horoscopes, okay, Shauna? And Shauna, I can't remember what your other sign is. I know that you're a double Leo, but whatever the other sign is that I told you on your chart, you should look for that. And you want to combine the 3. So you want to combine your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign will be more about how it is emotionally for you. But your sun and your rising will be more about what happens in your life, not just with strangers or your interaction with the world, but it will also be about like how you're feeling and how you're proceeding in life. Okay. So,
and if you happen to know your degrees, if you're 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees, make sure you listen to the next sign as well. I happen to fall into that. I'm a 29 degree Sag. So I always make sure I listen to Capricorn because that's usually
if you're on the cusp.
A blend of the two makes a lot more sense.
Right. So this is for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. And this is for the eclipse this weekend, which is Saturday, the solar eclipse on Saturday, which is really the universe asking you to change, Aries. What part of you needs to change? What part of you has been called forward to change? So Aries, you know that there's some part of your identity that needs to shift. Maybe it's your attitude. Maybe it's a relationship with others. Maybe it's how you perceive the world or what you're perceiving. Either way, just, just try to just allow for it to be what it's going to be. Okay. So allow yourself to be who you are meant to be. So Aries, this is for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. So this is going to have a lot to do with your identity, including with Neptune moving into Aries. Some illusions might get busted. You might have thought some things that you realize that's not true. And some real eye-opening experiences this weekend and next week. And so just be aware that you could have some eye-opening experiences, especially in regards to the solar eclipse on Saturday and Neptune moving into Aries on Sunday. That energy is going to have a lot to do with your personal identity. Okay. Like who are you? And I would also say even health. This would have to do with your vitality. If there's something going on with your health, the solar eclipse could deliver a very important message to you, or you could make some sort of decision. But the solar eclipse, it's not always bad. It could be good. It's usually like you found some sort of resolution to whatever came up during the lunar eclipse a couple of weeks ago. So Aries, be listening. What happened? What was going on a couple of weeks ago, and what are you finding a solution to now? What parts of are you trying to find healing in, and what's starting to feel a little bit better about you, and what can you do to shift yourself to fit better on your path? Okay, Aries. So that's really what's important for Aries this weekend. And as we move on to Taurus, this is for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Oh, poor Taurus. I feel for you. I feel like I say this every week, but it can't possibly be true. Taurus, you might be like, what the hell is going on? Okay. Like, Taurus, you just may not have any idea of what is going on in your emotions, or what you're going to do next. You may just be kind of clueless. You may feel disconnected. You may feel like you're operating on some sort of intuitive stance or something else that just doesn't make sense. This could have a lot also to do with like your experience with institutions or nursing homes or hospitals or anything like that. There could just be some energy that you don't quite understand this weekend coming from that area or from hidden enemies. So this is for Taurus. You just may not really fully understand what's going on. And the best thing I could suggest to you, Taurus, is to just take it easy. Remember that Venus is retrograde. She has moved into Pisces, so you'll probably feel some relief into that. You'll feel some relief, some relaxation that you can feel when Venus goes into Pisces. It'll feel a little bit better for you. That's your ruling planet. But with all this stuff going on in Aries and the sign right next to you, you may just not notice it. And you may notice other people doing things, other people having experiences where you're like, what the heck's going on? And that's pretty much going to be the Taurus experience. Okay, Taurus, hang in there. All this Aries movement is happening in the sign right next to you. And as a result, you may just not see things coming. You may not be prepared for things when they happen. And it could just kind of sort of surprise you. Okay. Now for Gemini sun, moon, and rising. This is for Gemini sun, moon, and rising. Now, Gemini, I'm going to say this has a whole lot to do. The eclipse this weekend will have a whole lot to do with people over you, people in power of you, people that influence you, your friends, coworkers, anybody like that. This is the area of your life that the eclipse will shift. This is where Gemini, Spirit is asking you, the universe is asking you, the sun is asking you, those people in your life, are you sure those are the people you want in your life? They have influence on you. And remember that. Remember that they influence you, yes. And they also, you tend to pick up their energies and you tend to feel along those levels. And then as a result, you take in that energy, and that may not always be the best choice for you, Gemini. So don't be afraid to move away from the people that are in power or people that have influence over you, or whatever you're feeling like you need to change, especially with the people in your life, Gemini. It will be very important, especially during the solar eclipse. And then once Neptune moves into Aries, forget it. All those illusions are going to be gone. And you're going to be like, these people have got to get out of my life. Okay. So whatever's happening for you, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising, be sure to go ahead and change those people. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. This isn't a time for that. This is a time to embrace new ways, embrace new resonance, embrace new energies, and allow new people to come into your life. New people can't come into your life if you don't change the people that don't belong there. Get rid of those people that are not good for you. There's no other way to shift that energy. Okay? And the best way to do it is to say no. Now, this is for Cancer. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising on Saturday. I have to say that for Cancer, this is going to be all about your career. This is going to be about the career or whatever you offer the world, Cancer. So Cancer, sun, moon, and rising, this is going to have a lot to do with what you bring the world and how you express to the world. So for you, just pay attention to how that is expressed within you. Okay. So, it's just going to ask you to change something. Maybe you have to change that job. Maybe you have to change the way you're approaching your job. Maybe there's something changing at your job that influences you, but just be open to those changes. Know that this is the solution, especially during the solar eclipse. There is an illusion, but that illusion will be taken care of by Monday. So, Monday you'll probably come into realization what that was all about and what needs to change. But just realize that for Cancer, this is for just pay attention to whatever's going on in your career or whatever it is you do in your interaction with the world. Okay? All right. So now, after Cancer, we're going to talk about Leo. This is for Leo, sun, moon, and rising. So this has a lot to do with spirituality, higher thinking, education, legal stuff. Those kinds of things. There's going to be some changes that has to happen in your spirituality, or maybe in the way you think, or meditation, or some sort of higher thinking, higher learning. Because Leo, Spirit needs you to change so that they can bring you what is important for you. So if you need certain things to change you. Don't expect to just pray for good things and good things happen all the time because now you're spiritual or something. That's not how it works. It's just that, and it's not like me, right? Like good things don't happen to me all the time. I'm just letting you know, like hard things happen to me almost every day. And I would just say that sometimes are harder than other times. And I have had some incredibly difficult times. And what I would say is that what's different is my perspective. And this is what I have been teaching my grandchildren, is that perspective is everything. Okay, Leo? So make sure your perspective changes, because there's some perspective changes that are coming your way, some higher learning, some higher understanding of what is happening to you in your life. That will be really important. Okay, Leo? It will be really, really important this week for you to recognize what needs to change in your thinking, higher thinking, or learning. And then we'll move on to Virgo. So Virgo, this is for your sun, your moon, and your rising. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. Oh my, Virgo. Whew, boy, talk about shadow work. Do you feel like you've been doing a lot of shadow work recently, especially with Venus retrograde for the last couple of weeks? Like, do you feel like someone's digging up, old stories, old stuff that you don't even want to talk about anymore? I totally get it, Virgo. That's what's going on. It's all that 8th house energy. It's the stuff that you don't want to look at. It's the stuff you don't want to talk about. It's all the shadow work, okay, Virgo? So it's okay. And recognize that we all have shadow. We all have these pieces of us that we don't want to address. And so just recognize that there might be some old stuff digging up for you. But I would lean heavily on my spirituality. What I always say to people that have a lot of 8th house placements is that while those placements might be difficult, the answer is also in the problem. It's sort of like where some people think if you're hungover to take a shot of whiskey. It's like, while that's the hardest thing, while that's a hard thing to deal with, also working with the occult, working with the spirituality, working with astrology, those kinds of things will really resonate right now. Those things will really come into your sight, especially to help you through this solar eclipse and this Neptune moving into Aries, because it's going to be an intense experience. You're going to have some illusions removed. There's going to be some things that you become aware of that are really going to change who you are. And I'm just going to say that just remember that everybody has a little bit of shadow, and with Chiron in the 8th house as well, that tells me that you're coming into your healing. You're coming into a healing, and anything that goes through your 8th house, anything that transits your 8th house, that's pretty much bringing healing to you. Everybody has things transit their 8th house at some point, and that's just asking for us to change. It's asking for us to shift. Okay, Virgo, it's your turn. You got this. You're going to get through this. I promise. And as Neptune moves into Aries, I feel that you will become very aware of some very important things. And I think that that's good next week. We'll talk more about that next week, but just know that some things could, like some illusions could fall aside. Okay, Virgo? And as we move forward to Libra, Libra, sun, moon, and rising. This is for Libras, and this is in regards to the solar eclipse this weekend, as well as Neptune moving into Aries. I just have to say, relationships, Libra. It has been nothing but relationships, right? For like the last couple of weeks, it has been one problem after another with relationships. And you are coming into an awareness, Libra. You are waking up to some relationships in your life that are not meant to be there, that are meant to change or shift. They must change. You cannot stand this anymore. I totally get it, Libra. And you know what? That's exactly what's going to happen on this weekend. You're going to feel like you have got to end this, that there can be no more of this. Something must shift. Something must go. And then as Neptune moves into Aries, Sunday and Monday, you're going to become aware of some illusions that are really going to rock your world. So Libra, I know how important relationships are to you. And I totally understand. And I get it. I have a Libra moon. And it means that deeply, intimately, and some of the most important pieces to you, Libra, are your relationships. But sometimes it's not just about being in the relationship. Sometimes, Libra, the one thing that I've learned in wisdom in these 50 years is that sometimes it's about ending those relationships, about knowing when to walk away, knowing when to say no, knowing when to put down the boundary, because God knows boundaries are a little soft, eh? Okay, so you might realize a boundary you haven't been holding or something else that needs to change in the relationship, Libra. And so just be aware that relationships are shifting right now and everything's going to be okay. You're going to be all right, and you have to shift those relationships. And if you're feeling called to shift those relationships, do it now. It's very important because you don't want to get caught with too much Aries energy. It will just become more and more conflict. And I know, Libra, you hate conflict. But if you wait too long, the conflict is going to get too big. Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You avoid things because you don't want to have conflict. Don't do that. Okay? Now for Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising, this eclipse is shifting your day-to-day life. This is shifting your health, Scorpio. This is changing the way you feel about your life. Maybe there's been some healing you've been trying to get your hands on. Maybe you've been working really hard at healing. Some sort of awareness, awakeness will happen. Illusions will fall this weekend and into next week. And that's just going to change your day-to-day life and your health. So Scorpio, whatever has been going on day to day in your everyday life or anything that has to do with your health, that, or especially like your quality of life, Scorpio, that's really what's going to be affected. And your quality of life doesn't just have to be health. It could also be with like how you spend your days or spending more time outdoors. That's what I'm currently thinking as a Scorpio rising. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I can spend more time outdoors. So just be aware that like this weekend is a good time to embrace those things you've been trying to grasp, especially in regards to your health or your mental health or whatever it is that you need to do for yourself. You know, now's the time. Grasp it this weekend because you're going to get it. And that's really what's going to happen. There's going to be a shift, a change. And I think it's going to be good. It probably will have to do with action. And you'll feel better as a result. Okay. And you'll probably realize some illusions, especially going into next week, that maybe you've been under some illusions in your day-to-day life. Maybe it is your job. Maybe it is just what's going on with your life day to day, or maybe you've been fooling yourself, maybe you've been lying to yourself. Whatever it is, just grasp it, hold on to it, because the solar eclipse is pushing you forward into exactly who you are meant to become. And so now the next is for Sagittarius. This is for Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Now, Sagittarius, this has a whole lot to do with children, or romance, or both. Or your creativity. And there's a solar eclipse happening there. So some sort of action is going to push you forward in results to that, in response to that energy especially focused on children or on your creativity or your romantic relationship, or a mixture of all those things. So just know that those changes are asking for you to change, Sagittarius. They're asking for you to shift, especially anything, any new changes you've been trying to make. new steps in that direction you've been trying to make, or whatever it is that you've been trying to shift, especially since the lunar eclipse a few weeks ago. Now you're going to come into the solution to those things and how that's going to be resolved and how that will change for you. So that's actually quite important, Sagittarius. So whatever you've been trying to shift in those areas of your life, remember I said that's children, romantic relationships, or your creativity, really focus in on that area of your life, because that's what's about to shift for you. Okay, Sagittarius. So just hold on. It's okay. A solar eclipse is usually pretty good. It usually puts us on a path for better energy. Now for Capricorn, this is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising as Neptune moves into Aries. Capricorn, this is going to have a whole lot to do with your community, the people around you, where you live, and your home, okay? Particularly, definitely including your home. And it will also have a lot to do with like where you live, your neighbors, your siblings. Maybe it's kind of a mixture of those two things, like your family of origin or your home and your siblings, or the community. Maybe you're moving. So that's Capricorn. This is a solar eclipse. So this is actually good. It's going to put you on track. It's going to let you know what needs to change. There will be some illusions changing, of course, next week, like will be for everyone. But I think that those illusions will just be shifting about maybe a belief system you had about your community. Maybe there'll be some shifts in belief systems you had about your siblings. Maybe you might realize that your siblings are not this or not that, or they are this or that. So just be aware of that, and just, these changes will be pretty okay for you, Capricorn, depending on what your other placements are. And what I would say is that when Saturn leaves Pisces, it will be more intense, but with Neptune's going to be gentle, except that it's going to, depending on your personal placements. But what I would say about that solar eclipse in Aries is it's going to shift it could also shift your communication, your siblings, or your community. Okay. So that's pretty much what's going to shift there. You're going to find some sort of solution, something that had to do with the lunar eclipse a few weeks ago. Like whatever was coming up, now you'll have the solution set, and it will be in place by this weekend. So now for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Aquarius, something's been going on with money, eh? Oh man, things have been shifting financially for you. I wouldn't be surprised if you yourself are completely changing, especially if you have especially if you have the sun or rising in Aquarius. Your entire identity is shifting right now, okay? Or it's starting to shift, especially with Pluto there. But with the solar eclipse in your second house of money, this is going to be highly connected to all of that, okay? So money is going to change. Something about money, something about maybe the way you approach money, or how money comes in for you, or even how you spend it. This will have a lot to do with what you value and what you see as important. So Aquarius, just hang in there. Just know that these changes are meant to happen right now. And these changes are going to happen in a way that should help you get more on track financially, especially as we move into April. It's not going to happen immediately, but there will be some shifts that you happen to have this weekend and next week. As the illusions are peeled back, you'll come into the awareness of better ways to manage your money, or spend your money, or even make money. Okay, so there'll be some shifts in that, and that will be very good for you in the long run, mostly because we will be shifting how we spend our money and how we make money. All right, and so the next is Aries, and Pisces. This is for Sun, Moon, and Rising Pisces. Oh, Pisces, this is going to have a lot to do with money and identity. Okay. So this means that your identity and the money, and with everything that's going on in Pisces, you're probably feeling really intense anyway. So because Saturn is there, the North Node is there, and Venus is retrograde there. Mercury is retrograde now at this point on Sunday. And then on top of that, so then maybe there'll be some healing or something coming. But what you'll realize is that there's actually an identity shift, some realizations that you're going to come to, especially next week, Sunday, Monday. There's going to be some real awakenings for you, Pisces. You are in for some awakenings in this coming year, but some of those awakenings will begin this weekend and next week. Don't be afraid of them. Instead, stay open to them. Go spend some time in some water. Go lay in the bathtub, lay under the moon and speak to her. Whatever needs to happen for you, connect with your stones, do some meditation, sit beneath a tree, whatever helps you connect to the earth, because that's what will lead you into a good place, Pisces. That's what will help you. That's the best, I think, approach that you could have in this, because you are having a major identity shift, Pisces, just major. So just letting you know that that's happening for you. And I want to validate your experience, Pisces. It is not just in your head. You are not crazy. You just are going through major transformations right now. Okay. All right. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. I'm glad you experienced that. I'm glad you experienced it in a good way. Okay.
Much love to you too, Donna. Miss you.
So Alyssa said, with the eclipse this week, do you know what degree in Aries it is? Yeah, it's mostly around 9-10 degrees, Alyssa. That's what I was noticing, is that the eclipse is like 9-10. Okay, so it's not happening on your Jupiter, but it is happening in the sign. So you will feel it, but it might not be as intense as a person that has it on their whatever. Okay. My poor granddaughter, it's happening right on top of her son. She's 10 years old. Okay. It's about 9-10 degrees. That's because it's moving, Alyssa, but the eclipse happens around 9-10 degrees. Okay. Okay. Shauna said, according to Astro Future, my sun is in Aries and my moon is in Aquarius.
Okay.
That seems strange, Shauna. I don't know. You'll have to reach out to me. Something's not right there. Maybe you did you check your birthday?
Time.
Yeah, check the time, check the year or something. Something isn't right there, because unless we had it wrong when I looked at your chart, that could be. That's happened before. Usually I try to check during the reading. I try to say, is this right? But definitely people make mistakes. So, anything could happen. So I would just suggest that you take a look at the dates and make sure that is accurate, because I don't remember that. I don't remember Aquarius even being involved. Okay. And Regina said, I'm a Scorpio sun and a moon Cancer. Okay. So you have to listen to both of those. I was looking at my chart and it was listing midpoints, and it lists sun, moon, and says Capricorn. What is this and what does it mean? I never noticed it before.
Well, that's when we went to the international, ISAR is the International Society of Astrological Research. I was in a class where they started talking about midpoints. It's definitely another layer in astrology. There's so many avenues you can go down to discover all manner of things. So I haven't gotten into them a whole lot. I understand them, but I don't use them. I haven't found them to be, there's so much. You have to sort of decide what you're going to focus in on. So, cool that it tells you that. And what the midpoint represents is the confluence of that energy, right? The midpoint between the sun and the moon is that, the confluence of that. I did a class that helps you understand how long ago was your past lives relative to your south node. Like if your south node and sun are not very far apart, which is my case, you can figure out through some pretty simple calculations how long ago was your past life. And if your past life was, less than 20 years, there's usually something going on in the chart that says, oh, you're here to work on something really specific. In my case, I have what we call a yod, or a finger of God, also known as two quincunx and a sextile, which basically is it points to destiny. So there's a lot of things we can look at in the chart that'll speak to what we're trying to look at. Are we trying to understand what's our destiny? The faded lines in the chart, what that means, really, really helps you understand. Especially for me, I finally felt like I stopped trying to rub out what is actually a freckle. Like that spot belongs on you, and stop trying to rub it out. Make friends with it, So I can't recommend Hollis enough to say, if you want to understand what's going on in your chart, if you want to understand your career, your relationship, your even if like Hollis does a reading that no one else does, that helps people understand when someone has passed in your life and you have all their birth information, they can put their two charts together and say, oh, well, this death has this, and this that tells us these kind of things. The meaning behind the death, was it fated like I was just talking about or not? What are you supposed to learn from it? What was your relationship, and what are they passing on to you in a different way? There's so many things. It's part of what makes it really fun. Mm-hmm. And we want to keep it fun, not overwhelming.
Right, exactly. And Alyssa said, to what degree from 0 should we listen to the other side? And I would only listen for your sun sign, Alyssa, not necessarily your rising or your moon, but your sun is at 5 degrees. So it's just barely, that is the max. We call that an orb. So it's like 5 degrees on either side. And that's like the max you would go. So, so your moon is at 9 degrees. So I would count it whatever sign it's in. The rising is at 3 degrees. It's on the edge, but I would say, when I listen, I have 0 degrees Scorpio. And if I listen to Libra, which is right before Scorpio, even though my moon is there, it doesn't usually apply. More of the Scorpio energy will apply, less of the Libra energy. So even though my moon is there, so I've listened to Libra before, but it doesn't usually apply to me. So most of the time I just listen. I really focus on sun and rising. Sometimes Libra will apply to my emotions, but it's not as strong. So I would just focus on your sun. But I do notice that Bright Hawk, what I noticed with her is that her sun sign is at 29 degrees Sagittarius. And so when we listen to Capricorn, it's actually more accurate.
Yeah. So what I would say, this is a good time to sort of explain. Obviously, 360 degrees is a circle, 12 zodiacs. Each zodiac has 30 degrees. Then, if you want to get even deeper in astrology, there is what's called decans, and that's every 10 degrees the decan changes. So all of your placements are in the first decan. That's solid. That's exactly where we're going to make the reading from, is from the first decan. I, on the other hand, hit the last decan, the third decan, which means I'm going to listen to both at 29. And I would say that for 25 through 30, because when we look at when Hollis is reading the chart and telling you all, we're looking at 0 for that sign.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about that.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Hi, Carrie.
I'm glad you made it, Carrie. You got that Libra. Whoo boy, right? You got this, Carrie. You got this. All right. So it's been fun doing this with you guys. I'm going to pull 3 cards now from the Pride deck. Love is Love. This is a deck that each one of the cards is done by a different LGBTQIA artist, which I just think they're beautiful.
I'm just going to say next Monday, your world might look very different. And we hope that this broadcast really helps you know how to surf your week. And know that we're all in it together, no matter what. You're not alone.
You are not alone.
Everyone experiences the sky above them.
Exactly. And it's happening to all of us all the time. So, okay. So the first card here is from the past. And this will have a lot to do with strength, particularly nurturing strength that holds place for others to grow, because that is the seahorse, right? And this is also about trans men, and trans men often have a very sacred trans identity. One of the thing about trans men is they usually can hold space for everyone. They want safe space to be there for everyone, and that's exactly what this is about. And while it's requires some strength, and that strength comes from sort of, I don't want to say a battle, but a difficult times in life. That's where that strength comes from. That's why they have these awards. That's why they have a shield, and why they're kind of riding the seahorse, because it is definitely a representation of strength and of strength going forward. And that seahorse has earned a horn like a unicorn, and that pretty much tells you the magical call to strength that you have had in the past. So just remember that what goes on this week, it's not necessarily going to be bad. It could be lots of great stuff. But you might come to realize some things, and it doesn't have to be bad. It could be like, wow, I wish I had thought of that last week. Okay. Like, just could be something simple. And what I'm going to say about this is that no matter what, remember everything you've been through. Remember all you've come through, and remember how strong you are. This is a reference to your past and a reference to how strong you are. And this next card, oh, wow, this is beautiful. This is very like solar eclipse, right? This is the star card. This is the now. This is this week. You are going to come into the light. And that's great. You want that. You want to come to realization. You want to come into the truth. You want to realize what the truth is. You want those illusions to be shed. You don't want to live in a delusional world. So just allow the light to come to you. And that's really what this card is about. It's about having an emotional enlightenment, emotional awakening, spiritual awakening. The star card is always about spiritual awakening. And as we go forward, this is the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is meant to carry you forward with your intentions. What are you supposed to do? What is your intention, and where are you going with this? So this is very much about putting you on your path. The Knight of Wands is about being on your path and realizing your intention. So by the end of this week, you're going to know exactly where you're going and exactly what's going to happen next, except for maybe Taurus. And you'll mostly you'll be able to know exactly where you're headed. And that in itself will be a blessing. And that's going to happen as a result of this week's emotional awakening, this awakening towards the light. And just have confidence in yourself, because you have strength. You have been through so much in the past, and you will get through this too. And that's what life is about. It's about coming through those battles and wearing those battle scars with pride and strength and allowing them to make you resilient. So remember how those past scars make you resilient and better than you were yesterday, and walk into the light this week in this solar eclipse in a good way. Allow it to come in and bring the change it's supposed to bring. Embrace the awareness, embrace the awakening, embrace that energy. And as you're going forward, be aware that this Knight of Wands is putting you on your life's path. It is helping you set your intentions going forward so that you can pull them out. You know exactly what actions you're going to be taking. You know exactly what's going to happen next. And you're going to become of what kind of hero you are and what kind of hero you mean to be. And who are you really? And you're going to step up into those shoes and you're going to be the leader you're meant to be.
Right on. What a cool reading. Wow.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Alyssa said, so Carrie said, it has not been a fun week, but I'm hanging in and keeping my mouth shut to avoid unnecessary arguments. Carrie, I just said that. Libra, don't avoid it.
Good.
That's going to change.
Yeah.
Alyssa said, right there with you on the rough week. I have a feeling it's going to get better soon. Mercury has been helping me with keeping my mouth shut, or more like no noise coming out.
That's very funny.
Oh, no. You guys, when Mercury goes direct, especially when it goes direct and goes back into Aries after it gets out of Pisces, you're going to say whatever you need to say.
So if you heard us at the beginning, I mentioned there's a promo code if you want to get an astrology guide that helps you understand your sun, moon, and rising. It's not very expensive, and we're even giving you a 50% off if you just go ahead and put live 50 in the code. You can get 50% off. We're trying to just really make it easy for you to understand yourself better.
Yeah. And it's just a quick breakdown of how to get a free chart, where to get a free chart, and how to find your sun, moon, and rising in your chart on your own. So then you can participate in these broadcasts so you know. And you can even and I would suggest that once you get your chart from Astro, save it as a picture and print that baby out and have that thing right in front of you every day, every week. I have a little folder. We have little folders that are just astrology where you can print things out, and then you can even write things on your chart as you figure things out, or as I start to teach you. And astrology is very much a slow process of learning, and it's about learning this. It's about, practicing. And I think the more you practice, the better.
Yeah. And if you want to go deeper, instead of just the little handbook, we have a class that we did together. It's a 5-part series. Lots of job aids and easy things to help you remember and understand what we're talking about: the houses, the planets, the rulers, the transits. We break it all down so it's much easier. And, we've had numerous people in this group take the class and say, wow, now the podcast makes so much more sense. So that's our goal, is to help make it very accessible.
Yeah, it's just, and so this is like just the beginner's guide, and then there's a full-on class. Chelsea said, I purchased the astrology guide, and it's been very helpful. I've been having fun reading my chart, as well as my husband's and my kids. We're all enjoying it.
Good
job. That's awesome, Chelsea. See, that's where astrology is so beautiful, to validate who we are. My grandson was feeling a little frustrated with some things today. And I pointed out that it could be the technology that was giving him a hard time. And he was like, yeah. And then I was like, well, remember that it's not you, man, that you're Virgo rising and Mercury is retrograde right now. And that means that you could have some hard time with computers and stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, Mercury's retrograde for a while. And I told him till April 7th. And so, but even a little kid, even a 7-year-old could feel validated. And I said, even if you feel a little off today, that's okay. It's okay. You're going to feel better in a couple of days. It's the astrology. And, and he was inspired, and he realized that he wasn't crazy and nothing. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It's like, sometimes we just need to be validated. I think the number one thing that comes through when I do readings is people are like, you've just validated me. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah,
well, you needed that
crazy.
validation. Here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to give it to you. And
Yeah.
if a chart with the planets on it helps you believe in that validation that much more, then great. I mean, I'm happy to validate people because I think whatever you feel in your heart is true. But sometimes I think the validation, like in astrology, which is like, stop trying to rub out that freckle, and that's who you are, and that's who you're meant to be. I think that's a powerful message. I know that for me, that has been the most powerful thing astrology has ever done for me.
I can't imagine anybody on this planet not benefiting from hearing you're perfect just the way you are. That's the beautiful thing about astrology. Every single person's chart is unique. Even if you're a twin, there will be something that's just,
and that's why I always have that quote that says that you are a perfect, imperfect reflection of the universe, because you are meant to be a reflection of what's happening in the sky. And that's meant to validate you. It's meant to help you feel like you're on the right path. And so just remember, a solar eclipse puts you on path. So whatever happens this weekend, it's trying to put you towards the path. Don't resist it. Don't resist it. Grasp it, because that path leading forward will be so much better for you.
Oh, thanks, Alyssa. We appreciate you too. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed. We're definitely going to be back here next Monday, because I can't wait to hear how the eclipse went for you and what you're discovering and learning. We're all in this together. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing, sharing all your comments. It's been really great having this interaction with you, because that's what really makes it a lot more fun for us. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a guide, a bridge between you and the stars.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart, so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.